How can we have peace in the Middle East when there's none at home? How can we have understanding in the land when there's none in the woman?
Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is Michelle for Afro Expats. I have the pleasure today of speaking with Empress and Ray. They live in Puerto Vallarta and they're going to share their journey to Mexico with us and just kind of continue this fabulous, exploration of expat journeys to Mexico from our lens. So I'm really excited to speak with them and just kind of see, like what's going on over in Puerto Vallarta, which is also a very popular expat space if you're interested in living close to the beach. And I've already seen the view from their patio and it's pretty impressive. It's beautiful. So I'll let you take over and start. Ladies first, Empress.
Yeah, it's really beautiful here. There's so much to talk about. I mean, I never imagined that I would live in Mexico. Actually, we were planning to move to Germany because I worked in Germany and I was tired of flying back and forth. And I lost my passport and couldn't get on the plane. So while I was waiting for a new passport, we made a short vacation in Mexico, and it was so wonderful. I said, why are we moving to Germany? We should be moving to Mexico. And Ray said, yes, 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 we know exactly where we should go. And he brought me here. And so we've been here about 3 years, and it was the best thing, best choice we could have made. I love it.
Oh my God, that's a great start. So before we get to Ray and just talking about his like perspective on moving to Mexico, how did you what happened with the passport? If you didn't have it, you lost it and you were waiting to get into Mexico, did they let you in? Like, what was the story?
Oh, that was actually no problem. I was on my way to Germany because I tour every year. I'm a singer and I tour in Germany.
Okay.
And so we had decided that we were going to move to Germany. We shipped some stuff there. We got rid of everything. And we were in the airport and I couldn't find my passport and there was no place to go back home to look for it.
Okay.
So I wanted to get an overnight passport. So we went to San Diego. And we kind of missed the deadline to pick the passport up, so we had to stay someplace. So instead of staying in San Diego, we went to Rosarita and we stayed in Mexico. So what happened was when I didn't have my passport, of course, you're traveling internationally, they don't allow you to get on the plane without a passport. So I had to wait. So when I was returning from Germany, of course, I had a passport. It was no problem. The funny thing is that when I got to Mexico and was unpacking my luggage, I found the lost passport in my suitcase. I had it with me all the time. I had it with me when I was in the airport. It was right at my fingertips in the outside zipper part of the bag. And somehow, I guess I looked in there and didn't find it, but it was still in the bag when it got to Mexico.
That's interesting. So it was kind of fate for you to end up in this country, right?
This is where we were supposed to be.
I love it. I love it. And what type of music do you like to sing or?
I'm a jazz singer, but I have played every kind of music. It's really difficult when you're unknown to focus on one thing and earn enough money to make a living doing just jazz. So I have done musicals, I've done cover band, and now that I've retired from all of that, I write original music. Well, I've always written original music. I write my own music, I record my own music, and now I'm doing my own thing.
I love that. I love that. So where have you performed in Puerto Vallarta?
Oh, in Puerto Vallarta, I just did a couple of concerts in Casa Karma, that were we did benefit concerts there for the hurricane victims because we had a really bad hurricane a couple of months ago.
Okay.
Nacho Daddy. I did Blake's a couple of times. Adelitas,
Okay.
barbecue restaurant, few places around.
Beautiful. I remember you sent me a video, so I'm gonna put you on the spot later. Be ready.
Okay.
Love it. So jump right in, Ray.
Uh, you know, Empress is incredibly modest. She is very popular in Germany. She was in Hair when Hair went to Germany. They put in The Lion King. She learned to speak the language. She started a jazz club in Germany, got the Germans to pay for it, kind of like a cultural exchange. And the club is still running successfully now, so we go back and tour. And the first time she took me to Germany, I actually got paid to sing in front of a live audience of 5,000 plus people behind one of the top singers in Europe. And I got paid for it, and I got put on the album. And I don't speak German, and I don't sing.
Wow. Okay.
But I have
That's a
video.
funny story.
I've got videos. I've got videos to show that actually happened.
I
But
love
that's kind of.
It did. It did happen.
I love that. What part of Germany?
We were in
Oldenburg.
northern Germany, and at that time, and that particular concert that we did was in Oldenburg, which is the town where I actually lived for 23 years.
Wow.
And
Okay.
this was the Deutsche Schlager Festival that they do once a year. It's the biggest thing, one of the biggest shows in Germany. So they record it live for television and they play it like for weeks over and over again. And yes,
Now you have to explain that in German so that your German friends, when they hear this, they'll know what you're talking about.
Wann ich alles auf Deutsch erzählen, werde keine Amerikaner verstehen. Ich muss das auf Englisch erzählen. Das geht nicht.
I love it. Now you have to translate to Spanish and English.
Well, let me speak to start with translate in English because the Espanol is horrible.
I understand, trust me. No, that's amazing. I love your story so far. I feel like there's so much more to get from this.
Oh, there's so much.
Not that we're talking about Germany, but how did you end up in Germany? You lived there for a while.
Well, I started out as a dramatic actress in New York City.
Okay.
And after a while, I wasn't getting enough work as a dramatic actress. So I switched to musicals and I was auditioning all over the place. And I did an audition and I got immediately, they said, Hair, musical Hair, we want you. I had 2 days to pack my stuff and move to Germany.
Okay.
Well, not move to Germany, but to go on the tour, which was eight months. And so I went and I did the tour. And while I was on tour, we went all over Europe, and because the tour started in Switzerland. And when we got to Germany, I started making friends so easily. And people said to me, well, if you come here and you move here, we'll help you find work. We'll make sure that you work. So I thought, okay, when the tour is over, I'm going to stay for 2 or 3 months, earn a little extra money, and then go back home. And 23 years later.
Wow. Wow. So I guess the tour continued and you stayed, or you got into that, but maybe had other offers, and that ended up being your extended stay.
Yeah, the tour was only 8 months. And I met someone who was a contractor. He built houses. Okay. And he said, oh, well, you know, I've got some houses or some apartments available in Oldenburg. If you're ever in Oldenburg, come and see me. And it just so happened that the tour did go to Oldenburg.
Oh, nice.
So while the tour was in Oldenburg, I visited this gentleman, Uli Rehn, and he showed me his properties, and I picked one, thinking that Oldenburg is a really nice city, but it's kind of small, and I'll stay here for a couple of weeks while I'm working so that I can move to Berlin or to Dusseldorf or someplace big. And I really liked Oldenburg. It was great. So I never left. I actually stayed there. time.
Oldenburg is a very affluent community. It's kind of like Bel Air in Germany or Beverly Hills, and she is extremely popular there. So much so, when she got stuck there during the pandemic, and they canceled her tour, and she wound up making more money with a canceled tour than she did if they had not canceled their tour. They
Wow.
love her in Germany.
IRS.
I don't think they're watching us yet. I hope.
It was an exciting experience because when my friends found out that my tour had been canceled and I, was stuck there having not made any money, people just started coming and giving me money, saying, "Oh, you're here. You need to have some money while you're here." And I taught different gospel choirs while I was in Germany too.
Beautiful.
So one of the members of my gospel choir calls up and says, "Oh, we have a little house in our backyard. It's a garden apartment. If you want to stay there, you can stay there rent free as long as you need to."
Nice.
So I stayed there for 5 months, rent free. They cooked for me every single day, and people just kept coming by and giving me money. It was just an incredible experience.
Interesting. I love that story. So fast forward a little bit, you ended up thought you lost your passport and decided, I'm going to go to Mexico. Well, your husband decided you're going to do Mexico. Let's try Mexico. I know you said initially you weren't really sure about that.
Well, I never gave Mexico a thought. It was only because I had to get a new passport.
Right.
So we drove to San Diego from Las Vegas. We were living in Las Vegas. We drove to San Diego so we could get a passport in 24 hours. And then since we were so close to Mexico, we decided to take an Airbnb on the beach and in Rosarita. And we had such a wonderful time. We had a host by the name of D. Michael. And he said, "Oh, don't leave. I'm having so much fun with you guys. You don't have to pay anymore. Just stay a couple of days here, keep me company." So we stayed for 3 days in Rosarita, and he took us around. He showed us everything, cooked for us, kept the margaritas flowing. We had such a great time. And it was just interesting because I had to drive back across the border to go and pick up the passport. So we drove back and forth about 2 or 3 times across the border. And the people were so nice that I fell in love with Mexico in Tijuana.
And if you fell in love over there, you can fall in love anywhere, right?
Right. That was when I
I think it's a little bit rougher. I haven't personally been there, but the impressions are that. And I feel like, you know what, even in a place where maybe it doesn't feel like the nicest parts of Mexico, there's still that culture that resonates about Mexican living, the people and how they are with you. I think it's just everywhere in Mexico, you get this warmth,
Well, it didn't feel rough to me at all. It was lovely.
Yeah.
I think she fell in love with the people because we were sitting in long lines, trying to cross the border because people work in San Diego. They work on one side and live on the other. Tijuana and San Diego are like sister cities now. And while we're sitting there in the car, I had one of the dogs in the back of the car, and people would come up try to sell us stuff, and I would say, "No, gracias, buena suerte, échale ganas, pero cuidado, mi perro está, peligroso."
Right.
And people were just like, "Oh," and they would smile, and they would tell us our stories and their stories. And there were so many people who had got stuck or deported, not even Mexican, they were just there trying to figure out how to get back. But there was no sense of despair or how you would expect people to feel, the attitude you would expect them to have being like stuck in a border town.
Right.
And that's when she looked at me and said, "Well, why are we moving to Germany?" I had lived in Mexico before, and I told her I used to work for first I had a little newspaper when I lived in Cabo, and then I worked for the timeshare industry, and I did very well and in that industry, and they promoted me from Cabo and they brought me here to Puerto Vallarta. And I don't really do corporate. I have a disease. I'm allergic to jobs. So
You're allergic to your boss.
Yeah, exactly.
I know
Allergic to bosses. So that whole concept is just abhorrent to me. So after a while, I quit, and I'd made so much money on commissions and stuff that they were still paying me. So I found this little village, and I got off the bus here, and I didn't even have a car. I got off the bus, and I asked the guy, said, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm looking for a house." He said, "I don't know just where to go." And next thing I know, I had a house to rent. They
Nice.
rented horses to go up to there's a restaurant in the jungle here called Den, where they made the movie Predator with Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Mhm.
And my neighbors rented horses to take people up there. And I had never thought about owning a horse. I'm from LA, but owning a horse in the States is crazy expensive. So
Mhm.
the horses here were inexpensive, and I said, "Oh well, I'll buy a horse." So I bought like the nicest horse in the village. He was like Ferrari horse, and all the gear. And they taught me how to shoe him, how to give him shots, to take care of him and stuff. And he was beautiful. He had a beautiful, fully white face, and his eyes were so blue people thought he was blind. And he was really brave and fierce. Really great horse. Everybody was really envious of this horse I had. And so I started exploring the jungle. And then I thought, well, if I had a friend come down, I would have to rent a horse for them, and horses are cheap. So I said, I'll buy another horse.
Right.
And then it dawned on me, it's like, Ray, you need a job. Eventually, you need work. If you had 3 horses, you could do tours as well. So 5 horses later, I'm doing tours,
I love,
like the rest of the guys down here.
I love it. So what does your tour consist of? And then I don't want to also, I don't want to forget to talk about your spearfish, because yeah, there's a lot going on too.
Well, that's part of the tour. I'm investigating doing something for veterans. I'm an Air Force vet. I'm a Vietnam vet. I'm looking to do something with the veterans, especially the guys with PTSD, to calm them down.
Mhm.
So my tour is really a lifestyle tour. When I was in Las Vegas, the VA told me I was pre-hypertense.
Mhm.
So they said, and we're going to give you this medication. And like, wait. Pre-hypertense means not hypertense, right? And they said, yeah, but I said, tell you what, give me a blood test, blood pressure monitor. I'll check my blood pressure,
Mhm.
and I will get back with you in a month or so. So at those days, my blood pressure is up like in the 150s, 160s all the time, sometimes 170. When you start getting closer to 200, you're in, danger of a stroke range. I lost a friend to that. So I come down here, and my blood pressure is like 116 over 74. It's like, high school kid, blood pressure. And it's lifestyle change. So I was sitting out here in a kayak with a friend of mine, and we're about 150 feet apart, but it's so quiet and the water's so calm that we can talk in just a regular speaking.
Right.
Oh, it just disappeared.
Frozen. He may still be talking.
He probably is.
Maybe, if you can hear us, Ray, you're frozen.
Oh, let me just tell him.
Okay. We can edit this part.
Voice and hear each other perfectly. And it's beautiful. I'm going to show you what it looks like.
Uh-oh.
It went back.
Did he? Oh, he's gonna come back on. Okay, no worries. I'll edit it and
Yeah,
like
we can pick up from
I'll
there.
make it work somehow. Hold on. Okay, can you hear us? He has his mute on.
You have your mute on.
Mute and
Okay, you're good now.
okay, good. So anyway,
So you were talking about being on the water, and that it's really calm and it's quiet. So
yeah, I was right out there.
Okay.
You can see 1 point. So I was right out there, and I thought about how wonderful that would be, because going into the jungle with the horses is the same thing. Where we ride horses through the jungle. It's quiet. Sometimes we take trails across private property. So you're not going to run into any ATVs or anybody else. Actually, the only way you can make it is by horseback or by walking. And it's real casual, but we cross the river, we go to the jungle. So that led me into getting into more the water sports, spearfishing and free diving and scuba. So what I think my tour is all about is encouraging people changing their lifestyle for their health and reconnecting with nature. So the first thing I do, you know, I should kind of put you on a horse. I let you walk the horse around a little bit, give you some pointers about horses because people are normally afraid of them. They're huge, heavy animals, but there's no reason to be. So I would take some apples, we feed them, and then I get on. I basically show you how to ride like a driver's permit driving, you know. So I show you how to basically control the horse. You're not going to be a cowboy, but you can stop the horse, turn the horse, make the horse go. So people enjoy the ride. And after an hour or so, everybody relaxes.
Right.
Because you don't have to think. The horse is going to do all the work. You just sit there and enjoy the jungle, and there's clouds of butterflies. And you know what the jungle's like here in Mexico. This place is amazing.
Yeah.
People talk about Africa as the motherland, but you know, if Africa is the motherland, Mexico is your cool auntie that smokes weed and lets you borrow her car. You know, but you know, this is the place you go when you don't want to talk to mom. You know,
I'll take it. No, I
I
love
have
it.
to say, throw something in here, and
Sure.
that is, I've been horseback riding a lot in a lot of different countries, and Ray is the only guide that I've ever known who will give you a lesson before you get on the horse and go. Most places, they just put you on the horse. They tell you, hold on to the reins. The horse is going to follow. They're going to follow. He
Yeah.
really makes you understand what you need to do and makes you comfortable. And, you know, it doesn't matter how many people we have. He rides back and forth from person to person to check on you, to make sure you're okay, and to tell you whatever he needs to tell you in order for you to feel comfortable. So by the time you finish your tour, you can really ride. I mean, you can't gallop or anything, but you can ride, and everybody feels so comfortable.
I love that. I think too, that's a good point to make because I've been on a horse here in Mexico. I mean, I'm sure I've been on horses somewhere else in my life, but in Mexico, and it's just what you said, they just put you on and they're like, if you want to go to the right, pull this, if you want. And I'm afraid of horses because yes, it is a big animal and I've done it. And the more you do it, you get more comfortable. But my initial kind of like rides in Mexico, it was like, just get on. And then I remember last year, they wanted to put us as a family on horses. And I was like, I don't want my son on there by himself, right? Because I don't even know if they gave him any lessons at all.
how old is he?
Last year, he was 8. He's now.
Yeah.
And I was kind of like, no, I'd rather him ride with me or ride with a guy, like someone holding or pulling. They were
Pulling
like,
a rope, yeah.
do it, because, Mexican culture is way more like chill. We get really, like excited about everything. And they're just like, it was literally like, are you crazy? We're not putting another person on that horse with him. He's fine. And I was like, he doesn't know how to ride. Like, he's never done this. Like, let's say the horse decides, because it can happen, it's an animal, it could decide to do its own little thing, but he was fine. It was just interesting because no one taught us, no one showed us too much. They said just that the horse will follow the horse in front and they already know what to do. And I was just like, you got a lot of faith in this animal. Yeah. But it was fine. I mean, it turned out fine, but yeah, that's exactly what happens. No one showed me a thing.
Well, my thing, I really want people to enjoy the experience, and anything literally can happen. I mean, the horse can be spooked by something that you would never suspect, so you wouldn't even be prepared for him to change pace or change speed. And the truth is, from 0 to 30 miles an hour, a horse is one of the fastest things on the planet, including cars. They can go from 0 to about 30 in 3 steps.
Wow.
So that horse can accelerate out from under you and actually leave you hanging in midair. And if the horse changes its step, people want to grab the saddle, which is exactly the wrong thing to do, because that's not where your stability is. Your stability is in your legs. So that's the kind of things that I point out to people. It's like, kind of stand in a saddle, it's not as easy as it looks on TV and the movies. It's a little bit of a workout, actually.
It is.
It's a workout.
It is. It's a total workout. Just the way you're supposed to sit on it. It's not my thing. That's all I gotta say. I might come and ride with you, Ray, one of these days, because you're gonna.
I would love that. I promise you'll have a good time.
Okay, maybe on the beach,
Yeah.
somewhere really flat where if I fall, I can fall in the sand.
You're not gonna fall, but we do have beaches that you can ride on, but just not here where we ride. We do I think you'll really enjoy what we do because you'll see flowers and butterflies and you may see some animals and it's almost hypnotic. I was riding the other day and I found myself whistling. And it's because when the horse is walking, there's a rhythm.
Right.
And I just found myself listening to the rhythm, and I'm like, well, I don't know any cowboy songs, so I was trying to do it to jazz, but
Jazz is fine. Jazz in the jungle.
Bells
There
to
you go.
you.
Jazz in the jungle. That's what you should have.
Wait, we do have that's our brand, Jazz in the Jungle. We actually that is our brand, Jazz in the Jungle,
Yeah,
and we're looking to promote it here. We just had a little get together at the house here. I think I was trying to show a little bit of the house. I'm in the backyard because I'm doing a barbecue, so you can see we've got a really nice. We got a patio and uh, nice yard, and it's fenced in, and the dogs are there. And I'm over here with the patio. We even have a pizza oven. If anyone has a pizza recipe,
You use it.
yeah, I've never used it. I don't know what to do with
Not yet. We've only been
Not yet.
grilling, but it's really great, because the weather is so wonderful here that we cook outside most of the time. We're really not using the kitchen inside that much because it gets too hot in here.
Yeah.
But it's really nice to be able to barbecue every day.
I love
And I
it.
shot some fish the other day,
Yeah,
so I'm looking to
tell me
grill a
about
fish.
that. And I just wanted to say that I would actually be very interested in the jungle horse tour. It just sounds beautiful. It sounds very serene and calming. That's
We're gonna.
I'm just not crazy about riding on horses, but I would try it. Last year when we were in PV, we went to one of the waterfalls. I don't remember the name of it, but we had to take a boat to get to
Yalapa,
what was it?
Los Animas, Camixto. There's a little
Yeah,
trio
Camixto.
of beaches.
Yeah, it was Camixto. And then we had to we did the horse to get to the actual waterfall. And that was my mom's first time riding. And she's 78 and she loved, oh my gosh, she loved it. She's like all about it. She's like, I want to ride on the horse and I want to go in a hot air balloon ride, which was here in San Miguel. And yeah, my mom's like, trying to live it up right now. So
Yeah, she
Oh,
sounds
all right for
amazing.
her.
She sounds
Great.
amazing. We have another thing that you would probably like. We put together a club called Sirens, and it was a scuba club for ladies that had never been scuba diving. So, we'll put. I'll have Empress send you the links for the videos. We have a video about the horses and a video about the scuba, and they enjoy it. They said it changed their life. So we give you a little course in the house, and about 45 minutes or so, and then we took them and we take you actually out into the ocean. It's not in a pool. We took them like 35 feet underwater for about an hour, and they loved it. They absolutely loved it. They said it changed their life, and that's what our tour is about. It's really life-changing experience. I think I credit the spearfishing for getting my blood pressure back under control because I don't use a scuba tank. I hold my breath.
Right.
So I've gotten to where I'm comfortable now at about 45 feet, and my breath holds like 3.5 minutes max so far. I've not pushed my limit because I go by myself a lot. So it can, it's already risky, but if you push yourself, I'm sure I could do much better than that, but I'm not pushing myself. I'm just amazed that I can do it. I mean, I've done some. When I got out of the Air Force, I was air traffic controller for a while, and I'm not impressed with that. I'm impressed with spearfishing, going underwater and shooting fish, holding my breath, and bringing home food and lobster and stuff. That to me, it feeds something I didn't even know was hungry. It's such a, I don't know, macho Neanderthal. I don't know, whatever you want to call it. It's like it's really satisfying. Like I know if nothing else, we're always gonna eat. So I've changed my diet. I'm a pescatarian, I guess, because I've promised I'm only going to eat stuff I personally murder, and I only take what I need. So I take like one or two, and then I go back and get some more. So that's why I'm out here on the grill. I had some it's a triggerfish, Triggerfish, you're not going to run into it in the restaurants because their teeth are like chisels. They actually eat lobster. So you can imagine what a fish tastes like that eats lobster.
Right.
And then we got the mojaras and the red snapper and the mahi-mahis and tuna and the rest of the stuff that's out there. And I just walked out here to the beach and with my suit on, I just got out the water before we did this interview. I had to cut it short, in fact. See how important you are to us?
Oh, thank you, Ray. And also, I just find that super interesting because I don't know that I've met someone in person that spearfish, and also just kind of, I've seen guys like in, places, for example, when I went to Jamaica that go deep diving and they get stuff and they, they come back up. And I've seen people in parts of Mexico that are like, getting the little shellfish or whatever. And a few maybe diving down and catching stuff, but no, I haven't actually had a conversation. So this is really interesting. What got you into this? Like, where did you start with saying, let me give this a try?
Well, it actually goes back to when I was 13 years old. I told I'm living in LA, grew up in LA. And I told my mother I knew what I wanted to do with my life. And she said, what? I said, I want to be an oceanographer like Jacques Cousteau. And she said, is there any money in that? And I was like, oh, I never thought about the money part. I just thought about what I could see doing for the rest of my life. So when I got here and I started doing the horses, really connected with nature, I met a guy named Gabino. And Gabino still lives here. In fact, I talked about him, told stories about him for years before we even thought about coming to Mexico, because he taught me how to spearfish. He also taught me how to use a rope slingshot like David and Goliath, the sling. And when I met him, he was living in a tree house. He had built a tree and he was actually living off the land. He was fishing, he was eating the mangoes and the bananas and the papayas and all the stuff that grows here and limes or whatever. And then when you spearfish, you always have enough for you, but if you get more fish, you have fish you can sell or trade. So basically, it's a commodity. It's a source of currency, and I just thought it was challenging and something that I wanted to do. And philosophically, it's like martial arts. I've been practicing. You always practice. You never master it. Martial arts since I was like a kid, and this is really Zen, because the truth of the matter is you can go like 7 weeks without food. You can go 7 days or so without water. You can go 7 minutes or so without air. A little longer, maybe 9, guys that are good at doing that. But air is the thing we need the most and we take it for granted. We give it the least value. You don't panic if 4 people are on the elevator that you're not going to have enough air. You just assume you're always going to have enough air. When you're spearfishing, all you think about is breathing. You have to breathe and relax and calm yourself before you go underwater. You have to take 5 or 6 minutes breathing after you've been if you've been underwater for 2 minutes, you need to take 3 times that, like 6 or 7 minutes resting before you're ready to do it again. And we're aquatic mammals. So we even have what's called the mammalian reflex. When cold water hits your face, your respiration slows, your capillaries constrict to center your blood supply with the oxygen into the center of the core of your body. All these things have been proven through anthropologists that we at one time were marine animals. And you start reconnecting with that, and it's addicting. It's all about self-improvement and self-discovery and your own personal limits and being in tune with your body. Because once again, like I say, you're breathing and that's all you're concerned about. So it's a complete disconnect from anything that might be stressing you out or bothering you in the world. You completely disconnect. You're weightless, so it's like you're flying. Here on this beach, we see sea turtles. I've seen manta rays, wingspan bigger than a car. We've got eels and all types of fish. I've been in schools of literally millions of fish, just a cloud around me. And I've brought back fish, huge fish, with just a spear, not even a spear gun, just a spear. My life is so amazing here, especially with Empress. I'm glad that I have photos and videos of all the things I'm talking about, because one day my grandson asked me, he said, Papa, you think when you tell people about the things you do, they think you're lying? And I'm like, oh my God, people probably, this dude is so full of crap, right? but no, I mean, it's just I've got that kind of life, and I really encourage people. I try to empower people and encourage them to stretch out, connect with nature, and learn about yourself. Focus on self. That's the only thing you really own. The only thing you have control is yourself and your attitude, and that will solve so many of people's problems. And I think I'm helping people to do that.
I love that. I think that this is a whole other kind of like viewpoint for people to come to Mexico and reconnect to all these things in a total different way. I've had people who talked about yoga and their meditation things. And I recently spoke to a girl in Puerto Vallarta, no, Playa del Carmen, and she's kind of doing this African style yoga, which is really amazing, and kind of like an intuition kind of workshops and stuff. And I feel like I just keep meeting people like yourself and her, and like everyone has like this thing that they've kind of got into because they're in Mexico and they got
A discovery.
Right, it's a discovery, and they got away from just the mindset of work every day, 9 to 5, and I'm going to do this job, and I'm going to till I'm 65 and 62, and I'm going to get myself, it's like they just kind of said, you know what, I'm done with that. And now I'm looking forward, I'm going to do this. And it's all very different. And I mean, it's so inspiring. And just listening to you, I just think like this is really interesting, approach to self-discovery. Do you know what I'm saying? Like just the breathing, like you said, just kind of tapping into a fear, because that really is where we start when at least a lot of people, I think, start with fear of the water and
Oh yeah.
swimming and going down too deep if they're not comfortable with that. I know that I have never been comfortable with learning how to scuba dive, even though I've had plenty of opportunities in my travels, but I've always just stuck to snorkeling. And even snorkeling, after a while, floating on it, I'm just kind of like, oh, okay, 2 feet back on the ground.
It's you make a very valid point. And the beginning of it is learning to trust nature. When I started improving my swimming talents, because I've had to work up from zero, to what I can do now.
Yeah.
I had to learn to allow the water to support me and to trust that the water would support me. And most people who get in the water, they struggle too hard to keep their body too much out of the water instead of realizing that you just need to be able to breathe. And people say, oh, the water's too deep. And I said, well, it doesn't matter how deep it is because all the air is on the top. So it doesn't matter how deep it is.
That's a great point.
So you have to learn to trust it. I have given the ocean so much equipment. I recently lost another GoPro 9 because I was helping this brother to snorkel, and he was terrified of the water. He had a snorkel, and I've got the best equipment. He had my mask, my snorkel, my fins. He was holding on to my dive buoy that I use for diving, and I had him holding on to a rope buoy that they had to cordon off the swimming section in front of the hotel. He was terrified. He would not let that go. And I just kept reassuring him. And I had the camera on a strap around my wrist. And I was actually pulling him back to the beach. And it wasn't until I got to the beach I realized that it had slipped off my hand and it's floating around somewhere. And I got, the footage is what's irreplaceable. But now I have an excuse to buy the GoPro 10. So it all works out.
She's like, oh my God.
She's like, babe, you lost another camera. I said, babe, but I came back in one piece. You don't understand. It's like
he's talking about the loss of the fourth camera.
No, this is camera. Well, I don't count the Nikon.
You don't count the Nikon, and I count the Nikon. But
I don't count.
3 GoPros and a Nikon. We're getting ready to buy another GoPro.
We're gonna buy a couple. Actually, we're gonna buy a couple more.
I think we have to put a camera chip in your head so that we can make videos through your eyes rather than.
I'm gonna start putting a bit. I'm gonna start putting a business card for the real estate company that says reward. I'm gonna put a business card in everything. I'm gonna attach it to the camera, put it in by the battery. I'm just gonna make sure that if there's any chance of getting it back, at least I have a chance of getting it back. but I'm getting better at not losing stuff. And I'm getting really good at finding stuff. I lost a spear gun. I lost a spear gun once. It took me 6 weeks. I finally found it. It was at the bottom of the ocean. I finally found it. I found this. I found this necklace here. I found this on the bottom of the sea.
That's pretty.
Yeah.
Is
Yeah,
that like a tail of something?
Yeah, it's an orca tail. I don't know if you can see it. It's engraved.
That's very cool. That's why those
Yeah.
guys are out there all the time.
Uh-huh.
The metal
Find stuff.
detectors.
Yes.
Yeah, it must be lucrative because I see
Oh
them.
yeah, people lose all kinds of stuff. And I go out. I swim out to, like I said up here. I go out 4 or 5 hours at a time, so it's a great workout. And like I said, I come back chill, come back, have a couple of cold beers, take a nice hot shower, cold rinse, and
Throw something
fillet
on
some
the
fish.
grill and call
Throw
it a
something
night.
on the grill. Yeah,
That's
I mean, I even enjoy cleaning them. And it's weird, so disconnected with our food source. One of the reasons that we left the States and came down here is because if they turn off your water in the States and there's no food in the supermarket, they can wait a week or two and come by with the big buses and pick everybody up because you have no recourse.
Exactly.
And down here, that's not the case. So it's being empowered, and people are looking for equality and justice. And how about freedom? How about just the freedom to live? You
Right.
know, and that's something that's important in Mexico. When they closed this beach down for COVID, this went back into being a fishing village. This village is like 300 years old, so it went back to a fishing village. And I went down to the beach to go spearfishing. So I got my wetsuit and my knife on my leg, got my spear gun and my buoys and stuff. And cop said the beach is closed, and I said, I live here. I'm gonna get something to eat. He said, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Done. Like,
There's not a lot of red tape in Mexico and with things like this. I mean, there is for things that, it just feels like, okay, this should be easier. But I feel like with just people making money, there's not
living.
Like, you got to get right, exactly, and surviving. I see people setting up a whole whatever right outside a restaurant that might be selling the same exact thing. And it's just, it just happens. And it's like, if you like theirs better, then you buy it. If you want to go inside and sit down, no one really bothers anyone. They'll set up a whole clean your car right in the parking lot at the grocery store. That would not go down in the US.
See, if you look at it, I think it's people are making room for people to live.
Exactly,
so
to survive.
If people are making room for you to hustle, there's less of a potential, less pressure to steal and to do crimes and stuff, because it's like, well, I'm gonna get my hustle on, So
I really recognize that the world is abundant and there is enough for everybody, and they're not trying to take anything away from you or prevent you from getting anything.
Absolutely. And also too, just the mentality of allowing me to work to make my living, whatever the living is living is eating, getting food on my table, surviving with my family. And I feel like this country is able to kind of stand on its own because they do allow people, if you really want to get out there and hustle, they don't really put a lot of roadblocks. I notice a lot of folks sell things out of their house, out of a little door, a little window. In the US, it's like commercial this, a permit that, an inspector this. Not to say that they don't inspect here, but you can really start like that whole home business thing and get yourself going. And they don't stop you from that. And I think that's really interesting. Just even growing, I see people growing their little potatoes and fruits, and then they just go on the street and sell.
That's right. Yeah.
Let me give you
your house in your neighborhood and drop off your fresh chickens that they raise in their backyard. Go climb the trees. There's fruit trees everywhere.
Yeah.
People go and climb the coconut trees and bring them to your door and sell them to you, which is great. I can't climb a coconut tree, and I love coconut. Same thing with the mangoes and berries and everything. They'll just go and pick them off the trees and go door to door.
And it's always seasonal. Sorry, Ray. It's all. I was just gonna say it's always seasonal too. Where it's really in season. It's not like you're gonna get this 12 months out of the year. You know, just
Right.
down the street, you'll get, like, for example, a couple weeks ago, months ago, it was cactus season. So they have like what they call tunas, but it's the little purple part of the cactus. And I've
Mm-hmm.
seen women like 2 years or even last year when my mom was here, just going around, there's cactus plants everywhere, knocking the fruit off, putting it in their little basket and selling it. So it's kind of one of those things where it could sit there and rot because there's a law against you doing this. Or,
Right.
you know, like you said, there's an abundance around us. And sometimes we as humans, we create all these issues where people aren't able to enjoy that abundance.
Inconsideration and selfishness. I can extend the analogy about the fishing thing. Well, next time I told a cop I was going out to get some lobster. Next time I saw him, he said, "Hey man, did you get any lobster?" Now, if you're in the States, say you're in LA and you're hungry, you're homeless, you take your fishing pole, you go down to the pier, you try to go catch some fish. If you don't have a license, you're going to get a ticket. If you don't take care of that ticket, you're going to get a warrant. Now that's went from a civil thing to now it's a criminal thing because you're in contempt of court. And you can wind up, if you had anything, lose all of it. Even if you were living on the street, you wind up going to jail. All your possessions are gone because there was no one there to take care of them. And they wonder why people are so stressed and so destitute. And you have the drug pandemics that you're having there, and serial killers. When's the last time you heard of a serial killer in Mexico?
I haven't actually.
Because because everybody's checking on everybody. Everything's buenos dias, buenas tardes, buenas noches. Hey, hi. Even with strangers, people speak, people make eye contact. And if all they're saying is like a namaste, I see you,
Right.
then it's like a check. We don't do that in the States. And the serial killer is always the guy like he was a slow loner, he stayed to himself, he was quiet. In his house, he had people parts in his refrigerator. He was quiet, he kept it to himself. We don't have our problems down here.
No, it's true. I think culturally, people are just, you know, more open, more supportive, and yes, they speak. Most places, people will speak to you. But Anna, who was on with me a while ago, she's Mexican, and she made an analogy about that. And her analogy from a Mexican perspective is, if you live in a village, town, or wherever, and you know, you have an emergency of some sort, those are the people that are going to check up on you, like you said. Like, they're not going to be like the 911 and the cops are going to come running really quickly. You actually kind of need those people. And she said culturally, that's why people kind of are bonding all the time, and they're kind of close to each other in their towns and their villages, even if you don't know them extremely well. But they do this because they say they might need that person one day to help them out.
Or,
Yeah.
for example, I like to take the bus, and I took the bus to the supermarket, pick up some groceries, and as I came back, they were putting in a new sidewalk on the street where we used to live, putting a new sidewalk in, and the sidewalk was very high because they put the sidewalk in first, and then they put the street in after. So they put a piece of wood, like kind of slanted, like this, so that you could walk on this wood and step up to the sidewalk. And I stepped on this wood with all my groceries, and it slipped, and I was down flat on my face. It's like 10 people came from out of everywhere.
Yeah.
Are you okay? Let me help you. Picked up my stuff, picked me up, and walked me to my house.
Nice.
with my groceries.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's that kind of environment. And I like that kind of small town environment because I'm from New York City. And, you know, when I returned to the States from Germany, I moved to New York first thinking I want to be near my family. I didn't last a month.
Yeah.
I didn't last a month. I had to, because it had changed so much. You know, there were millions of people, about 3 million more people living in the same space as when I left. And it was a nightmare. So I moved to Las Vegas, which was better, but too dry and not fun until I met Ray. And then the rest is history.
I love it. It's a beautiful thing. So tell me a little bit about like just living in Puerto Vallarta. What, you know, like what is it you love about it? What are some of the challenges that you have maybe time to time?
Well, we actually live in Mismaloya, which is
Okay.
about 30 minutes, 20 minutes by bus
Mhm.
from Puerto Vallarta.
Okay, is that
So
in what direction?
it's south,
South, okay.
yeah. And we live here because it's quieter
Mhm.
and it's just beautiful. And I like living in a house, so I didn't want to live in a high-rise
Mhm.
condo. So this was
This
more
this
my
is
style.
why we live here. This is why we live here.
Okay.
This is this is why we live here.
Yeah, we can walk down there. We have a little staircase and we can walk to the beach in 5 minutes. And so that's just, for me, that's really a great thing. Um, it's so convenient to go into Puerto Vallarta. So I would say the only thing that is a little inconvenient for me here is that we don't have a major supermarket
Oh, okay.
in this Mismaloya. So it's like when I want to do my big shopping, like go to Costco or go to Walmart or something, I have to either take the bus or drive into Mismaloya. And that's
Stand
near
corrected. Take the
Puerto
bus or make Ray drive. Take the bus
Vallarta.
or make Ray drive.
I was
Oh,
gonna
no,
say,
that
or make Ray go and get
make Ray drive. Yeah,
Ray
yeah.
drive.
Yeah,
right.
so that takes up a half an hour of my time. So that's kind of, it's not so inconvenient, but you know, I
No,
would
that's
prefer to
not
have a
too
supermarket across
bad.
the street would be nicer. And
It's
same-
funny too because this is Puerto Vallarta is the first or second safest city in the world. It's the first or second or third most popular return destination for vacations.
Mhm.
And it's like going to the slums for us. They're like, oh, I gotta go into town. You know, it's like, hey, it's a 20-minute scenic drive along the coastline. You got the
It's
ocean
a
on one side
beautiful
and the jungle
drive.
on the other. You know, and I'm like, oh, I gotta drive into
It's a
town.
beautiful drive, but I would prefer to walk across the street.
But
Yeah, no, I agree with you. When we were there, it was just interesting because I realized how much Puerto Vallarta is kind of jungle, because
yeah,
it's like well, the direction that I drove in the most, it was sort of like the jungle was on my left and the ocean's on the right, and it was
you're
gorgeous.
going south. Yeah.
Yeah, we went to, I drove all the way one day to, I think it was called El Tuito or something.
El Tuito. El Tuito. Yeah, you went past us. You went past Boca to El Tuito.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I just was driving and it was raining, and then they had all the little waterfalls. We went to the Botanical Garden. It was gorgeous.
Which is beautiful. The Botanical Garden is everyone should go. It's amazing.
Yes.
No, I have to. I grew up in LA, and then in Germany, of course, I'm driving on the Autobahn. So I have to remember that the same nice people I see walking down the street are also the nice people that are driving. That's one of my big challenges. Right? Because it's like, could you pedal that damn thing faster? Because
Yeah.
here a left turn signal. It might mean they're turning left. It might mean go around me to the left. It might mean
broken.
yeah, exactly. It might mean my flashes are on, but only one's working. Like you don't know. People stop in the middle of the street. They'll pick people up. They'll drop people off. But then there'll also be a line of people, and they'll let you in, or let you through, or let you out. So, I think that Empress would agree that we really have to learn how to accept the Mexican culture and really catch ourselves on trying to bring our old culture to the new culture.
Because what we try to bring is stress. What we try to bring is rushing, and I have to do this, and just all kinds of things that make your life uncomfortable, which are the things that we think that we're running away from when we leave America and when we leave Canada to come here. We're running away from all of this stress, and we're bringing it with us at the same time.
Exactly.
So when you come here, you have to learn to be patient and accepting. I mean, it's one thing with driving because people are not flying anywhere.
No,
So you
and
have
they're
to
not
be
really
patient.
rushing.
No,
Even-
it's the same thing when you go into a restaurant and you order. Never go into a Mexican restaurant starving,
Yeah.
because everything is cooked fresh here. When you order that guacamole and chips, the guacamole is not already ready when you get there. When
No.
you get there, they cut the avocado and the tomatoes and the onions. You got to wait for them to make it. So you really learn patience here. You really learn a different lifestyle in every way. Yesterday, I went to a restaurant here. We had some friends visit and they wanted to taste some local food. So we went to a local restaurant and it was just so nice. You know, it's like nothing extravagant, nothing fabulous because it's for local people, but we had to wait for our food to be made. You know, we had to even the margaritas. You know, they.
Wait, you said nothing extravagant. They have like you got lobster and fresh fish fillets and fresh vegetables
The
for
food was
like
extravagant,
$12.
but the decor was right. Exactly. To me, that's extravagant. If I can get an amazing meal, I don't care what the place looks like.
And the great thing about
the restaurants look nice, you know, they're outside and you always have this palapa like what he's got over his head. They always have this palapa roof and beautiful exotic flowers and everything. When I say extravagant, you know, I think of New York City where the windows are glass and you can watch the traffic outside the window while you're eating, but you don't have to smell the smog and you don't hear all of the noise from the trucks and the horns honking because the windows are soundproof, you know, and you've got these big candelabras and chandeliers. And that's not Mexico. And I'm so happy to get away from all of it.
You sound like a local now because the places that we go, if you weren't a local, if you didn't know, you probably would pass them up because she says saying that they're not extravagant is an understatement. They're like real simple. Usually they have plastic chairs, you know, that type of thing. But if you know where to go, and if you live on the community, on the economy, the local economy, one of the great things about the Puerto Vallarta area is that a lot of Mexican nationals come here to vacation, like in San Miguel, I would think. I think San Miguel might be a little higher income per people, but they can't afford to make it like Cancun or Cabo San Lucas because they would price themselves out of the tourist business. Right. So when you know where to go, everything is super, super affordable. And like Empress is saying, it's really fresh. You know, 51% of the food they get in the States comes from Tepic. It comes from like 70 kilometers from here. You know, and the lifestyle here is we rarely drive over 45 miles an hour. Because so you're like, and that's like I say, back to the blood pressure thing. My blood pressure is 116/74 or something like that. Wow. From going from like the 160s.
And the people are so friendly. We sat in this restaurant and the people at the table next to us just started talking to us. You know, hi, how are you? And introduced themselves and shared stories about places in the area where we could travel to if we wanted to see something different. I mean, just extremely friendly and helpful. We've had experiences like that since we've been here. Yeah. For example, on this beach that he showed you from our patio, if you go all the way to the north side of the beach, there's an area there with big boulders and trees, so it gives a little shade, and we like to go and sit ourselves back there and you know, take all our umbrella and chairs and stuff and just hang out back there. And one day we wanted to hang out on the beach, and there was a family in our space.
our space.
They brought their barbecue. They had their barbecue pit set up. They were cooking back there. They had instruments, you know, they were going to have a little party. So when we saw them, we turned around and we started to go back the other way because we knew we couldn't take that space. And they were like, hey, we're grilling. Come on over here, have something to eat. And we did. And we spent the day with them. And they cooked and we ate and we played music and we sang together and we had a wonderful, never saw them again, but because they were vacationing here. And we had a wonderful time. And that's happened to us several times. I've never experienced anything like that anywhere in the world.
Yeah.
So, you know, I'm loving it here.
No, I love it too. I just think that it's easy to integrate in Mexico. You know, it's not hard to find a little circle or a tribe or a community of people. No matter where you end up, I feel like people don't treat you or push you away in general. Do you know what I mean? Like they don't make they're really curious, I think, about especially Black people. I really think they're very curious about us. They want to know where you're from. They want to make sure you're like you're good, you know, like, do you need anything? Can I get you anything? And it's just a nice receiving kind of, you know, feeling. And I say that, and I've been saying that's like my new phrase, because I met a lady recently. She is so bubbly. I love her. She's Mexican. And just her whole thing is all about happiness. You know, this is her approach to life, is happiness, happiness. And, you know, she and I spoke a few times. She had me over. She didn't know me from who. I was looking for like a space to rent. And then she said, come over, have breakfast. And then she said, first call me on Sunday morning and then come over and have breakfast. And, you know, she's invited me over a few times, but she really wanted to know, why did I end up in San Miguel? Like, what brought me here? And, you know, as I was telling her like all the different things, just dawned on me. I said, you know why I really enjoy Mexico? Because it receives me and it makes me feel welcomed. And the people mostly the people make me feel like I can call this my home. You know what I mean? Like really, I really feel more at home here than I've felt in a lot of places in my life. And I've lived, you know, I grew up in Connecticut, from Toronto, blah, 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 moved around the US a little bit. And yes, the US was my home because that's where I was raised. And I've traveled, you know, throughout the world, and I've been to places that were amazing. But for some reason with Mexico, it just feels like I can call this my home. Not necessarily that everyone's going to feel that way, but when I go away, I really feel like, oh my God, I want to get back. You know, I want to get back to my place, not just the house setting and things in the house, it's the energy that I feel in this. Exactly, you know, and I just feel like people in Mexico have always made me feel just welcomed, you know, in general. It doesn't mean everyone talks to you or speaks to you. It's just as a whole goes, I think we're not always so used to getting this kind of exchange, you know, that friendly warmth. Join me, come hang out, come talk to me. I want to know about you. I think we're so, you know, especially depending on where you come from in the US. And I come from Connecticut, you know, you're in New York. We mind our business. We don't really talk to people because it's like, why? You know, I don't know you, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, I don't know you, yeah.
Yeah, and it's kind of sad, you know, when I moved to Texas, this was way back in the early 2000s, people were nicer. And I freaked out. I was just like, what do they want? You know, like, what are you talking to me for? Like, what, you know, are something wrong, you know? And people would just start speaking like, hey, how you doing? And I was just like, I'm good. Did something happen, you know? And I had to realize culturally, even in the US, moving around the country, there's a different cultural vibe. And now, you know, and as you move around, you get older, you travel, you experience a lot of different things. I realized with Mexico that, you know, this is a part of their culture. They speak to you and I like it, you know, like I feel like we see each other. You know what I'm saying? We're not just so busy. We can't speak to another human that's walking right by you, you know? So for me, that's a huge thing I didn't expect to have. You know, we come here a little bit with economy in mind. It's less expensive, you know, I can get more for my money. And obviously that's a plus. This doesn't cost as much, blah, blah, blah. But I think one of the big pluses has been just that, is really feeling welcomed to living.
I came here with another motivation, and I describe it as the known hell and the unknown hell. You know, living in the States, being a Black man living in the States, I have to function on 70% of my mental capability because I have to save 30% for crazy white people shit.
Yep.
So when I come to Mexico, it's like I have a superpower because it's like I have 130% of my mental acuity. So I see opportunities and I see things like, oh, wow, look at this, look at that, look at the other thing. And a lot of Black people in the States don't know Mexico really is your cool auntie. You know, Mexico freed himself from Spain they outlawed slavery. And the U.S. tried to force a treaty for them to return the escaped slaves. And the president said no. They said no. They touch Mexican soil, they're free. And the general that's famous for liberating Mexico from the Spanish was a brother, Vicente Guerrero.
Yeah.
And he was also the second president of Mexico back in the 1800s, way before, you know, the United States was even thinking that was going to be a possibility. So now when I hear people talk about like racism in Mexico, the Afro-Mexicans that are here, their version of racism is that they've been so accepted into the culture that now they want to stand out a little bit as like, but this is the African-Mexican way of doing it. This is our culture. This is our music. This is how we dress. These are our festivals and ceremonies. So now they're looking for identity, but it's a whole different thing than what we're experiencing, you know, in the States. So I know that I came here getting away from the known hell, go to the unknown hell. The devil in the known hell, we know what he's like. Maybe the devil in the unknown hell is a punk. You don't know. And then you can always come back to the known hell, right?
Right.
So basically, what we deal with down here, the devil in Mexico, is a bureaucratic system that is slower than molasses, frozen molasses. So you got to go to court. It's going to be your whole lifetime trying to get stuff out of court. And it's better to pay somebody off to get some things done than to go through the system because you can get it done. And that's just how stuff works down here. So you have to get used to that. But it's all stuff that you can deal with, especially like you say, you've got this amazing culture of people who are just into being friends and relatives, and people will truly adopt you as a friend where you can count on them as a friend, and that's important to them.
Yeah, I think that.
Not just in.
Sorry, go ahead.
While
No, I was gonna say.
While we're on that point, talking about how great it is because of how the people treat you and how they help you. And I want to bring it around to back to the things that we do, because we did talk about our tours.
Right.
We have a company which is called Sphero Adventure Tours, and it's Ray, R-E-Y. And you can Google that. You'll see us. It's rayspearo.com. So you'll see all of our stuff.
Spell Spearo? Just
Spearo.
Okay, that's what I thought.
It means a spear fisherman, yeah.
One word, rayspearo.com. So you'll get to our information, and you can also Google that, and you will see all of our videos on YouTube. That's of course not the only thing we do, because we also sell real estate.
Okay.
So we try to help people to come down here because we've done this all, and we've helped some people do it, and we're here to help people do it. So if you're trying to make a decision to move to Mexico, actually we work in Puerto Vallarta, so we don't like sell property in Cancun and
we can.
What you know.
We can, but we love it here, so we try to keep it where we love it. But we do sell real estate. We do help people find long and short-term rentals when you want to come down here. We have a lot of expertise behind us, so we have people who can help you with immigration, getting your visa, getting your driver's license, all of these kind of things. So we provide a lot of services, and everything we do for fun. We try to make money having fun. So we do the tours and we do the real estate because that's a lot of fun too, and it's really very, very exciting. So I wanted to get that in there before we get on to other.
Yeah. A lot of people never seriously. I just want to add one thing to what she said.
Question. I'm sorry. I wanted to clarify, since we're on that, just like, what's the name of your YouTube channel? Is it
rayspearo.com? Ray Spearo YouTube channel is Ray Spearo Adventures.
Okay, Adventures. And then the real estate, can they find the details at the rayspearo.com? Like, what is it kind of like Relocation?
On rayspearo.com. It's the real estate is mexpatrealtors.com.
Okay, Expat.
Like on the shirt.
Oh, okay. You should have showed us that in the beginning. All right. So
we're showing houses today. So we're
mexpatrealtor.com.
Yeah, correct. Realtors.
Realtors. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, .com.
Okay, I have Sphero.com, Sphero Adventures on YouTube, and then MexpatRealtors.com, right?
Correct. And
Yeah.
if you want to have some more personal information
Sure.
about us, we're on Patreon. So you can go to El Rey and the Empress.
L Ray.
El Rey, R-E-Y, and
Uh-huh.
the Empress.
Is it and A-N-D, the?
A-N-D, the Empress.
Okay. At
On
.com.
Patreon.
Patreon?
You know Patreon, P-A-T-R-E-O-N.
Yeah. Oh, Patreon. Okay.
Yeah. So go there and subscribe.
I
And
will.
you'll get lots of stories about Mexico and lots of
Okay.
stories about us, what we're doing here.
Awesome. I love it so much. You guys are awesome.
Thank you.
So I'm going to include all of this, edit a little bit, get perfect.
Got a
I
job cut
appreciate
out
it.
for you.
You know,
It's
one of
not
the things that I think that I'm really proud of is that a lot of people have never seriously considered living here until they hang out with us. Like after a tour, we kick it on the beach or something, and people look at us and say, if they can do it, we can do it. And that's really what we want to get across to people. And anything we can do to help you do that, like Empress said, with the technical stuff, the legal stuff, we've got sources, we've got resources for anything you need. If we don't know it, we can point you to somebody who will be able to give you the latest information.
Yeah, and I think that's key and is part of the reason why this whole series was kind of birthed, because you know, what I realized is there are a lot of folks who either want to move somewhere, they don't have a clue, they may want to come to Mexico, they don't really know where to start. But for us, people of color, you know, say us, Black folks, sometimes we need to see it through the lens of another Black person. You know, this isn't really about a divide. It's more about just, oh, okay, I can relate to that because they look like me.
It's a
And
diaspora.
exactly. And people also needed to see us around Mexico. You know, I felt like Mexico really, for a lot of folks that haven't either traveled a lot or just start getting started at, you know, later in life, or they're like, oh, I want to retire. Oh, I need to think, oh, maybe I'm going to do it in another country. Where do I start? But there's also that where in Mexico. And I feel like everyone kind of associates a lot of Mexico to the beach, Cancun, you know, that whole Yucatan area. And that was, for me, one of the reasons I said, well, I like Cancun to visit. I like Playa del Carmen to visit. For me, coming from Miami, I just kind of felt like, you know, for me, that wasn't where I wanted to go to. Luckily, I had had some experience with San Miguel back in 2005. So, and obviously to each his own for any part of Mexico. Obviously, some people want a beach, they want the mountains, they want a big city. I totally get it. But I wanted to show how diverse the country is and that there's a lot for you to pick and choose from. So, you know, let's show some faces in these different, you know, cities and areas in Mexico. Show Puerto Vallarta. I did an interview with a few friends that live in Mazatlan a couple weeks ago. And I think that that's a very little known city. That's all beach. You know?
Yeah, it is.
And it's
beautiful.
gorgeous and it's very affordable. It's still very affordable.
You know,
and, you
what
know,
you're doing is
Mhm.
what you're doing is really needed because
Mhm.
you're giving people the opportunity to find some place that suits them.
Exactly.
And I know that's why we're so happy here, because it suits us. We're like, this works. This is everything we like is here.
Exactly.
In Mexico, it's got such diversity. It's here. Just, you know,
Mhm.
you're really doing a great service, you know, creating a network of these just little samples, you know, like a sample platter of Mexico, of all the different options that are available. And
Right.
just start somewhere and start looking from there, you know.
Exactly. And tapping into, you know, people like yourself. It's like, no, you don't have to do this alone. Even if you're interested in Puerto Vallarta, you don't have to just figure it all out by yourself. I mean, I think you probably did the same 3 or 4 years ago. This wasn't available. You know, I was just
Right.
Okay, I've been to Mexico. I like Mexico. I've traveled in and out of Mexico. And as you know, and I like researching. I really like, digging down, trying to figure out like, okay, how do we do this, whatever. But a lot of mistakes were made along the way, nothing that I couldn't recover from. But the point is if I could, have called someone like you or myself, and just said, okay, help me out. Where do I start? How does the immigration? I mean, we went to the consulate in Miami on the fourth try. We finally got our visa approved, but it wasn't because we couldn't do it. It was just, we did not have enough information, and they don't tell you, they just don't, they're not like, well, they did give us a list, but when we got there, we brought what we were supposed to, but there were some intricate things that they just didn't tell us. And it was like, each time we would go back, okay, we learned one more chunk of information. Oh, we learned another, and it was important. So the point of saying that is that I'm sure there were some relocation services that I just was not aware of, but I think it's also really a good thing to bring it from, like I said, our lens in general, because sometimes people, have not integrated so much or stepped so much outside of their comfort zone. And I've spoken to a lot of women who are just like, they want out, they want to leave, they want to move to Mexico, or they want to move somewhere else. And they find like that strength and encouragement when they speak to someone that's already there. So, I appreciate what you guys are doing and sharing. And I absolutely love the concept of your tours. They're amazing. I think they're amazing.
Yeah, well, you're encouraging people to ask other people in Mexico, which is something that we don't do back in the States. We don't just ask people, hey, can you help me? So now with your network, with your channel, you're basically encouraging people to say, look, if you see some Black people in Mexico, walk up to them and say, hey, can you help me? And
Like,
they probably will drop everything.
Support each other. I mean, I started a group here earlier this year, Black SMA, because I'm like, there aren't a lot of Black folks here, and it's a great city. Like if you really want to be in the mountains, you want to know about the art scene, or the food scene is pretty decent. There's just a lot of things happening in the city. And I heard people say, how come there aren't more Black people? And I say, because they don't know about it. It's not because they can't afford to come, or they don't want to, they just do not know about it. And little by little, I said, okay, you know what? In the beginning, this was 2 years ago, I had a friend who suggested, and I was like, thinking like, first of all, I didn't really think people would be that interested because it wasn't the beach. And again, here I am putting us in a box, you know what I mean?
Category,
Stereotyping, like most people want to go to the beach, and that's not true. So in the last literally a year or so, I've seen more and more people are joining this group. There's a writers group coming in December, and it's really interesting because people are like, oh, it looks like a great city, I'm interested. Even last night, so this guy that has a couple galleries, I forget where he said he's from. I asked him like 3 times what his name was. It's something different. I think he's from Holland or whatever, but it's a Black guy, but he's not Mexican. He's not American. I forget where he's from. Anyway, he reached out to me last week, and he said, we're having this Afro Mexican artist who's going to, open his exhibit on the 2nd. And I know you have this group, would you post my stuff on there? And I said, absolutely, I'll share it. So we posted it, and we had a nice turnout. I mean, there were like maybe 12, maybe 15, I can't remember, that kind of passed through, and it was a thing for that artist who's Mexican, but he was inspired by all of the, darker people that are in Oaxaca. So he made all of these like, different paintings about whatever, his experiences were. And he was just really happy to see Black people coming out to look at his Afro-Mexican art, and he was just like, oh, thank you so much, and whatever. And it's just a nice thing, it is a lot of work to kind of keep that whole community vibe going. But, it's just like really interesting, because I think sometimes we might talk ourselves out of things because we think, oh, well, you know, I'm interested, but maybe someone else, and it's not true. You know?
We make assumptions. Yeah, I know you've read the 4 agreements. And
Yes,
one of the
I
4
have.
agreements is don't
Right.
make assumptions. Don't assume.
Exactly.
And we're not the only culture that's suffering from this.
Mhm.
You may or may not have noticed, you don't see a lot of Asians on the western coast of Mexico, because most of the Asian market is being absorbed in Cancun, Playa del Carmen, in that area.
Mhm.
So it's not just Black people that are restricting their movement based on lack of information and lack of knowledge. And it's just a matter of time. So what you're doing is still cutting edge, and it's needed. And once again, I commend you for the effort, and I'm glad that you
Thank you.
found your way, because I think you're going to do very well with this.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you guys spending this much time. Like I said, I'm always Chatty Cathy. That should have been my name, but it's not.
We all are.
Hey, my sister's name is Karen, so she's stuck with one too. Don't feel bad.
So, not to put you on the spot, Empress, but do you want to end us on a song?
Oh my goodness. I knew that was coming. Okay. So I have a favorite song that I sing. It's kind of political. I always try not to be so political, but
Do I have to
it's
turn on the amp and the guitar?
it's a no. I do it a cappella.
Okay.
It's a song from Rachel Farrell.
Okay.
It's a bit political, but it never loses its meaning because the world just does not seem to want to change.
Mm-hmm.
So it's called Peace on Earth.
Peace on
And
Earth.
it goes like this. How can we have peace in the Middle East when there's none at home? How can we have understanding in the land when there's none in the woman? And there's none in the man. How can we heal the wounds of the world if we cannot heal our own? And where does this peace on earth begin, if not in the home?
Wow.
So that's one of my favorite
Wow.
songs.
I
Thank
love
you.
it. I
It's
have
important to
goosebumps.
me. You
You're
know, we're here living in another country, and we're trying to encourage people to travel around the world to get to know and understand other cultures, to share your culture, to share the things that are important for you in your life. And there's so much racism and hatred in the world, and thank God we don't have to deal with all of that in Mexico. That's one of the reasons that we stay here. But you know, the truth of the matter is, when you travel and you learn another language and you get this experience, you can't hate people when you get to know them.
exactly. And really,
So
you start realizing, maybe Ray can put his mute on.
Oh, sorry.
I can't hear her too well. Hey, Ray.
I hope I didn't mess up the song, man.
No,
yeah,
we get the song
probably,
fine.
I don't know.
Okay, is it on? Oh. Actually, I think I can actually mute him. Okay, there we go. Sorry.
Oh, now he just put you on mute.
I got
There
it.
you go.
I didn't know I could do that. No, I was just saying, really, I always say that to me, the bigger barrier is usually just language. You know, we're all humans. So I loved that rendition. It was beautiful. And I'm probably going to move that to the front of this.
You know,
So,
it's really just important to share culture and to share language. It's really a big help, because that's how you get to know people around the world. And you don't have to be afraid to come to Mexico if you don't speak the language, because you'll learn the language when
Yeah.
you get here. You know, it's so exciting to be part of the culture, and you'll just want to become more a part of the community. And the Mexicans are so extremely helpful. When they see you trying, they're going to jump right in there and correct you.
Absolutely.
And they're very gentle the way they do everything.
Absolutely. I mean,
So you don't have to be afraid to come here
no.
because you don't speak Spanish. You don't worry about
Exactly.
it.
I just tell people, don't stress. You know, I think you go to a space that's a little bit more of a softer landing, and, you know, like Puerto Vallarta, or just somewhere where, you know, the population might be a little higher, because honestly, a lot of Mexicans learn English for various reasons. And I always encounter someone who wants to speak English because they want to practice. Even, you know, the taxi guy that dropped us home Monday night, and this is often, this is my most recent example. You know, he just started talking because he wanted to practice. And I said, where did you learn your English? He said, I spent 2 years in North Carolina. I worked there, and now I'm back here. I'm originally from Mexico City. And yeah, you know, it's just a beautiful exchange to kind of have this where, you know, I've been to a lot of countries, and I feel like, man, it would be really hard to integrate into this culture, you know, not in a negative way. You can admire it, and it's beautiful to you. Like, for example, I love Thailand, you know, but I know it would be much harder for me to integrate into that culture, because I feel like they're culturally more insulated, you know, and here it's, you know, and they're very sweet, and they're very gracious. And I like how they move through life. You know, they're very aware of nature and the things around them. And, you know, they stop in the temples and they do their prayers, they walk by. I love that. There's something about that for me that's like, ooh. However, I can't say that I had the same warmth that I get when I'm in Mexico. It didn't happen. You know, I enjoyed my experience, but there's a difference between living and vacationing in different places. And I really feel like, you know, I've always been in and out of Mexico, and it's always been warm. It's always been warm, you know.
Well, I lived in Germany for over 20 years, and it was basically the same experience. The Germans are very warm people. They're very beautiful people, but they have to get to know you before they warm up to you.
I know.
So it's not like you're walking down the street and you see somebody and they say, mi casa es tu casa. And you haven't had a conversation with them except for hi, hello, which way do you go? Is it that way or that way?
Right.
And they're just so warm and so welcoming. And I stayed in Germany because I loved it there. Well, because I could work and make money, but also because I loved it there. I had such a great time, and I was so very well accepted. But I think that a lot of that also had to do not only with being exotic, because they considered me exotic, but also because of music. Because of being a musician, because of being an entertainer, it really brought the people closer to me. Whereas here, people don't know who I am. They don't know that I sing. I walk out in the street, and you make friends immediately.
Exactly.
You know, you're welcomed immediately. Nobody has to check you out and figure you out before they feel comfortable and safe, you know, to talk to you. You know, nobody ever follows me around in the supermarket. You know, I mean, look at me. Do I look like a criminal? You know, I mean, in the United States, all my life, I've had people follow me around when I go into a store. You know, sometimes people question you. You know, you're always suspect. You know, but here in Mexico, I've never been suspect once, and I love it.
Yes, I agree. Well, I'm gonna wrap it up, only because I have another interview in 3 minutes. So I don't want to have them waiting for me. But this has been such a beautiful thing. I'm going to be sure to post all of your details, because I absolutely love what you're doing. If you have any photos as well of you know, like your tour stuff, we can insert that out since I'm going to edit a little bit, we can insert some pictures on the horse tour, whatever you want to share. And that
Okay, so
applies.
shall I send it to you by email? Would that, what's the best way to send it to you?
Yeah, you can send it to me on afroexpats@gmail.com. Or if you want, you can also send it on Facebook, and then send me a photo of you both so that when I make the thumbnail for the video, it's gonna take a few weeks, 'cause I have a few people that, like already scheduled and already some other things I have to edit and work on. But I always
No
let
rush.
you know the week that their episode is gonna air, I'll send a message to you. So maybe Facebook might be best, because then I feel like I keep track of everything over there.
Okay. Well, I'm editing our videos too, so I know how much work that entails. So you'll see
Yeah.
that when I send you the links, you'll see that I've done all the video work too.
Awesome.
Don't worry.
Well,
It'll be fine.
thank you so much, Empress and Ray. I appreciate you spending this much time. Enjoy your meal.
It was
Thank
great.
you.
Thanks. Thank you so much.
Thank you, and I'll be in touch with you soon. And if we're ever in PV or vice versa, please look us up. I don't want people to say, "Oh, I don't want to bother you." No, bother me. Okay.
Yeah. Bother me.
Yeah. It's about building a tribe. We're down here building a new tribe, and we're teaching as we do it. So we kind of have to teach people why that's important,
Exactly.
and then they'll see the benefits. And it's like this conversation. We're seeing the benefit here now. Now we're families, and we got extended family.
Exactly.
You really don't get a chance to choose your family often.
Right. Exactly. 100. All right. Have a fantastic day. Enjoy that view.
Thank you. You have a fantastic day too. Bye-bye.
Be blessed. Be
Bye.
happy. Bye-bye.
You too. Bye.